In a previous module, we discussed eternalism's primacy issues. Here are our 8 gospel primacy issues displayed in their respective philosophical branch, that is, metaphysics, epistemology, and ethics. The ones in green in theological language we call the 3 E's of eternalism, that is, eternal laws, eternal truths, and eternal lives. The ones in red in theological language we call the 3 A's of the apostasy, that is, the absolutism of God, the absolutism of faith, the absolutism of others. We can sum up these 3 A's with the word willfulness. Notice that these primacy issues are exactly opposite of each other, like buckets flipped in opposite directions. A strong testimony and proper understanding of the Latter-day Restoration presupposes an equally strong testimony and proper understanding of the great apostasy, because they are 2 sides of the same prophetic coin. Some of us may incorrectly forget that the apostasy didn't go away when the Restoration came along. The apostasy and the Restoration are actually more like railroad tracks running parallel to each other. Even many Latter-day Saints either start out on the wrong primacy issue track thinking their path is clear, or unknowingly jump to the wrong track at various crossings because their primacy issues are mixed up. This is what we discuss as mixed premises in a coming module. The tracks end up at very different destinations, and the apostasy often creeps in among us at times. Only conscious effort to understand these primacy issues can keep us on the right track. In coming modules, we are going to take each of these primacy issues one by one, fix the track, remove obstacles, get back on the track again, and show which track really is the disaster. The restored gospel changes everything. Richard N. Williams said, "You and I have the blessed privilege of living in the full light of day, the dispensation of the fullness of times. This, as they say, changes everything." The scripture in Isaiah 29:14 and repeated in 2 Nephi 27:26 concerning the marvelous work and a wonder of the restoration is well known to all of us. We are not as familiar with the verse that follows. I quote from 2 Nephi 27:27, where the prophet spoke of those who are not enlightened, nor made joyful at the news of the restoration of the fullness of the gospel. These people respond, "Surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay." This is a powerful metaphor. The implications of the restored gospel are dramatic and far-reaching. We will show the restored gospel of Jesus Christ will turn the philosophical and religious worlds upside down. Is turning things upside down a good thing or a bad thing? Was Christ turning things upside down perceived as a good thing or a bad thing? The Jews held that the Sabbath had primacy over everything. Christ came along and flipped it, giving primacy to man. In Mark 2:27, "And he said unto them, The Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath." Jewish worship gave primacy to the Sabbath over man. Christ's teachings gave primacy to man over the Sabbath. In order to accept Christ, the Jews would have to flip it too in order to know the truth. Flipping it fixed it. What happens if you get this primacy issue wrong? You become a scribe or a Pharisee, perverting the spirit of the law, replacing it with dead practices. Apostate Jews view Christ turning things upside down in the negative sense. They would have to shed some sacred cows if they would be able to accept Christ. Sacred cow is an idiom meaning something considered perhaps unreasonably immune from question or criticism. Was Joseph Smith turning things upside down perceived as a good thing or a bad thing? Joseph Smith himself said, "I intend to lay a foundation that will revolutionize the whole world." If he was laying a new foundation, that means there was no existing foundation that would do. You don't revolutionize the whole world without revolutionizing the whole world. What we're talking about here is not a mere tinkering around on the fringes of civilization, but an outright repudiation of the moral, spiritual, and political foundations of Western civilization. This means its social, philosophical, and intellectual foundations as well. Joseph Fielding McConkie said, "Are not the creeds spoken of in the first vision simply a refill of the same prescription that killed the church in the meridian of time?" The history of the religious world is a long and continuous series of apostasies and restorations, leading up to this last and final dispensation of the fullness of times in our own day. Each apostasy and restoration consists of the turning of things upside down in order to turn things right side up. President Brigham Young said, "We will turn the world right side up, for it is now wrong side up, and we want to turn it over, prepare it, and present it to him who owns it, in a more goodly form and attitude than it has been for many centuries." People don't like their buckets getting flipped. They want hands off their sacred cows. Imagine an elephant sitting on top of each bucket you're trying to flip. Initially, it makes the elephant very angry. Likewise, the traditional world religions, Judaism, Islam, Christianity, don't hesitate in their opposite primacy perspective to ours. They would perhaps be amazed that we would even stop to consider a perspective of reality over God, reason over faith, self over others, and so on. So you now have this tool in your toolbox. I personally have come to realize how helpful this tool is. If I am hearing things and am confused, it is often clarifying to stop and ask, what is the rest of the world teaching? What is the apostasy teaching? That's a pretty good indicator that the restored gospel is going to counsel the opposite. In Matthew 10:34-35, Christ said, "For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law." What is the message Christ is conveying here? Christ knew he would have to pay the price for his life as he fought to flip a huge weight of error. Jesus knew that what he was going to say would be very divisive. Joseph Smith, likewise, set out to turn the world right side up in our day. He and his brother Hiram were martyred as a consequence. These gospel primacy issues are not something to be taken lightly. These primacy issues are not minor things such as cart before the horse or socks before shoes. They are some of the very reasons for the restoration. The implications of flipping these primacy issues are dramatic. When they first got flipped by Joseph Smith, think mobs, massacres, martyred prophets, and pioneer deaths crossing the plains, pulling a handcart to escape those who don't like their buckets getting flipped. The gospel truth is like a hand grenade with the pin pulled. It needs to be handed off with extreme care. Joseph Fielding McConkie said something along these lines when he said, "Anytime we declare something to be true, we have picked a fight with that which is untrue." Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to the Christian Eternalism YouTube channel and visit www.christianeternalism.org.